All right, let's go ahead and look at this problem. And what we're being asked for is to find the intervals on which this curve is continuous. And so let's go ahead and see if we can develop that idea here. By the way, I believe this is an open circle. Fill that in again. But basically what's happening here is that you have to really think about the x values in the domain and think horizontally, even though you know this curve is also moving vertically. And notice that over here, that this curve is coming from minus infinity, right? So it's coming from the left. And the point where this hole exists is at the -6. Now, it's not as important to know what the actual output of that value is. We'll talk about that maybe towards the end of this video, because we're thinking, as I said, in terms of the domain and horizontally. Now this curve begins again from -6 to 0 actually, because it drops off to minus infinity over here on this side. But where does it drop off? Well, it drops off here at this 0. So so that's where we would get that 0 from. And then of course it starts back up. It starts from positive infinity up here, and but it starts at the 0 and then it moves towards the right? So we're thinking it started somewhere at the 0 and then it moves towards the right. And there is no other asymptote on this side. It actually is moving probably slowly, but moving towards the right, and it's going to do that forever. And so those are the three intervals on which this curve is continuous. Now you may be wondering, well, why don't we consider that point there? Now we're interested in the limit. Now it is true in this case that f of -6 is going to be -4. Let me do it this way. That is true, but when we're talking about continuity, we're really interested in the limits. And so we're interested then in what are we approaching as we move towards the -6 from the left. Well, we're getting closer to this point. Even though the actual output is up here, we're approaching this, just as when we're coming from the right, we're also getting close to the -6. So if we're looking at the limit of f of x as x approaches -6 from the left and from the right, we're getting close to the output of -6, even though that is not equivalent to the actual value of the function. Anyway, those are some important things to consider when we're looking at this curve.